Hello, everyone. And in today's session, we'll be talking about creating and submitting tasks, checking in your VAs on a daily basis, and how to manage problems. If you have questions, you can just comment. You can just message in the chat. So for starters, creating and submitting tasks. Not sure if you can see if anyone received that SOP in the link, but regardless, if ever, I'll just screen share. Not sure how to do this one. Screen share this one. So as you can see, this will be the procedure on how you give tasks for your VAs. The first step would be what's the task name on what they should do, and then next, who's the assigned person, which is your VA, what's his or her name, and then when should it be completed, and then what's the purpose of the tasks. And then next would be the procedure, which should be the step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. An example of this would be somewhat this one on how, for example, if you are to do SEO, what should be the step-by-step procedure? It would be like this. Step 1, after logging into the needed credentials, install all-in-one, etc., since it's gonna need for backup, and then you'll just put the the notes on why it should be done, and then so on and so forth. It's a step-by-step procedure so that they can understand why it's needed to be done that way. But if the VA is already used in doing them, you can just leave the step-by-step procedure blank. Next would be the reminders, how to report on the task that was assigned, and the additional notes regarding the task, because maybe you have there's a special notes on that one. Maybe it's a problematic site, or maybe a task or whatsoever. Next would be checking on your VAs on a daily basis. Check in every day before beginning work. Allow your VA to check in with you whatever communication platform you use. Each day they begin working with you, it lets you know that they're starting on time and allows you to chat quickly. Request that they send you reports on completed tasks if a specific problems arises. Make suggestions. As your VA completes specific tasks, request that they send you a message to notify you. Even if you don't see every message, you can check on whenever you have a hard time. Make it clear that your VA can contact you with questions or concerns about their work. So for this one, it's clearly communication, so that you can identify on what might be the problem for your VAs. Heads up for a few minutes, final updates on what they have accomplished for the day, because maybe their task is somewhat a long one, just like building a website. It's not going to be done in a day, so that they can just update you on what has been done. Maybe they've done with the homepage, or they've done with the service pages, the service areas, and then they'll notify you what's not been done, what's the reason why they were not done, or why they were not yet done. And then one last tip, using the simple flow chart. Lastly would be how to manage problems and fire virtual assistants. When working with VAs, issues will arise from time to time, which is to be expected, especially if the VA is in like 3 to 5 months, so on, because they might be unhappy or whatsoever. When these types of problem arises, you should stop all current work until the problem is resolved. Because if you're to allow the VA to start to keep on working, even if there are still problems, there's definitely a implication that would happen, especially if they're doing website, they're doing web build, there are constant problems, and then they're still working, they're still building, and you are currently unhappy on the web build. You should make them, you should stop them on continuing the web build, because you need to clarify on what's needed to be done, for example, if your design is not being followed, you should let them, you should clarify them that it should be this type of design. And in terms of SEO, maybe they're doing SEO the wrong way. You should stop them For example, example of that would be changing the login of the website so that they cannot access, so that they'll be notified that they should stop working on it as of now. And if they are not and if they do not notify you that the login was changed, maybe they're not they don't care about the work, as long as they're maybe running their time whatsoever. Reestablish their expectations once you figure out what had happened, because from stop all current work until problem is solved. Because you need to find out what's the problem. Maybe your instructions weren't clear, or maybe they were following their own procedures, just like on ours, because we're following our own procedures, which is this one. Does anyone wants to have the access for this one? If ever, I'll just send it in. I'll send the link. Hold on. So there's a chat. And that's the standard operating procedure for SEO for our end. This is the basic SEO. Screen share again. Going back, reestablishing their expectations. Once you figure out what had happened, it's time to reset expectations and make sure everyone is on the same page, because as I've said earlier, maybe because you are expecting different things that's needed to be done, and they were following their own procedure. You need to be on the same page by communicating, because most of the time the reason for the incorrect information is that there's no correct communication. We start work and hold them accountable to new expectations. Once you finish setting expectations and they've confirmed, make it clear that you're unpausing them, but that if the problem arises again, they'll be paused immediately, because you have already this had happened once, and if it still happens, you should pause it immediately, because why are they still working at the same problem? Why are they encountering rather on the same type of problem where it should have been resolved already? Because you have already talked to them about it, and yet they're still not doing the correct way, which is what you want them to do. And then next, repeat the procedure if the issue recurs. So it would be like step 1, step 2, and then step 3, restart. And then if it still occurs, go back to step 1, which is this one, stop all current work until the problem is resolved. Next, for the most serious to list alarming, here is a list of the most common VA issues. One would be the being late once or twice, making small mistakes on the tasks, which is the very usual, being late consistently, missing meetings, missing deadlines or not completing work, making big mistakes on the tasks, poor communication while working, which is some of the VAs have problems because they do not know how to speak English properly, constant personal issues affecting work with good communications, constant personal issues affecting work with poor communication, which in terms of this one is that they have personal issues, but they are good in communicating, which is they're open too much on their problems. And then for this one, they have specific personal problems, but they don't want to talk about it, which is you don't know what's been going on. And for good communication, they tend to reason out why they're not working the way that they are supposed to do. And for this one, they don't give the reason why they're not working properly. Disappearing and or missing shift with no communication. This one is that they were absent on that specific day that they were supposed to do work, especially if you're gonna be day based. For instance, regardless if they work on Monday to Friday, if they are absent on example like on Thursday, they're absent and they didn't notify you why they were absent, but on Friday they suddenly show up and then they still didn't explain why they were absent. That's that's one of the common issues, because and it's VA. They're away with you. They're away. That's why barely, most of them are just busy, maybe doing their personal, doing something personally. It's an important, but they didn't give you information because they don't know how to communicate, and because they're not that open. That's why on the previous stops, they just from the interview itself, you should find the VA that's more open. And then causing team drama. For this one, it's gonna be about the issue as well on the team. Do anyone have questions? Does anyone have any other questions? Oh, put up there, so how to fire. So we'll proceed on how to fire VAs. If a VA continues to make mistakes and does not correct them after you meet with them, it may be time to replace them. Firing is one of the most challenging things in business as a business owner, which he or she must do, but it is sometimes necessary. Okay, question. Very clear fun. Okay, thank you, sir. Being prepared is the best way to deal with it. We've put together a step-by-step procedure that you can use when you need to fire someone. It's a method we've used for years, and it's greatly aided for us. For step one, when you've decided to let the VA go, wait until they're not online before taking action. It could be a weekend, a day off, or simply a period when they are not working. It's because especially if you're somewhat a sensitive type of person, it's better if it's gonna be somewhat in that type of situation. Especially if you don't want to see them face to face on when when you'll fire them, because it's gonna be hard for you, because especially if it's your first time firing a VA. It's very hard. And then the next step would be change all passwords and deprive them of access to everything in your company. It includes Google Docs, Google Drive apps, Google Drive apps. Can anyone see my screen? Or maybe it's a different screen. Hold on. This one. I don't know if anyone saw my screen a while ago, but here it is. Change all passwords and deprive them of access to everything in your company. It includes Google Docs, drives, apps, and other services. You should create a master list of everything your VA has access to, so that if you need to fire them, you can easily remove all access and avoid any issues after firing. This is most of our problems in terms of VAs, because we've been VAs with multiple clients now, and then we've ended our contract ended, and most of them, they didn't remove their access to us. Okay? And if I'm the owner itself, I should be very alarmed, because maybe the previous SEO, they might do something weird about their website. Someone might how do I put this, fuck their website up, put vulgar messages. Maybe they hate the client, so on and so forth. Where do you upload this? Sorry for the new question. I'm new to this group. For this one, it's gonna be on the Rank Fortress Academy. It should be on the GMB program. I'm not sure if it's a mem or sir. All of the previous class would be in there as well. So example with this is that we have, how many sites that we currently have? That we have like 50 sites, 50 more. We have like 50 more sites that the previous the owners didn't remove access to us. So if ever, especially on their hosting, we have access on their hosting, they still didn't remove it. And the cPanel access, we still have them. The GMB access, who knows if we are somewhat like we have different type of mindset. If they were to fire us, we might get their GMB suspended, and they didn't even remove our access from their GMBs. Good thing that we don't do that one. And then take them out of all group chats. It is critical to isolate them from the rest of the team to prevent bad mouthing after the firing. Others on your team may notice you removing them from chats, and you will need to inform them that you will be letting go of the VA. It is a good idea to inform the team that no one else will be left. Will be fired, and that you'll share more information and answer all of their questions shortly. After this occurs, you must act quickly if someone on the team warns them on what it is to come, what's to come. For this one, example, that specific VA, if that specific VA is in a group with everyone on your team, and then all of a sudden you fire them, and then maybe that VA will start bad mouthing will start bad mouthing you to everyone on the team, and then the rest of the team will wonder what's been going on. Why is he bad mouthing our owner? And then later on you'll realize, and then you'll remove him, and then it's all too late because most of them already seen it. I have a question about 301 redirects. Do you create the redirect on host or somewhere else, and do you allow VAs to do this? How do you do the 301 directs? Yes, we do that 301 redirects. If it's in WordPress, there should be 301 redirects using the hosting. Yep, host. Then next, would we check to ensure if all their access has been removed? Add check to ensure that all of their access has been removed, and add anything new to the firing list that was not previously there. Continue to improve this list. Maybe you've overlooked some of the access for your VA that was fired. You should constantly check it, because maybe on the later time someone might hack you, and maybe the VA is the reason why you were hacked. Then send the VA a private message. Keep the message brief, pleasant, and to the point without going into much detail. Sample with this: hello, hello Fernel, thank you so much for your work, but we wouldn't be needing to let you go because there are several problems that's been going on with you and with the team, and then so on and so forth. And then we hope you understand. Thank you. It's gonna be somewhat like that. And then if the VA responds, communicate with them calmly, nicely. Try to keep the conversation brief and avoid divulging too many details. Make it abundantly clear that the decision is final. How do you protect against access to cPanels in the form of VA that you fire? If ever for that one, sir, if you have given him access via a manager on his email, you can go to your own actual GMB and then remove their access. Or if you have the actual owner access and then you gave the login for the Gmail, you'll just have to change the password so that your VA cannot access it anymore, regardless if they know the previous password, because they don't even know what your recovery password and what the recovery email or recovery phone number, so that they cannot access it anymore. If the VA responds, communicate, because for this one, you may need to block them and request them and your team to do the same. If you will only do this if the VA is gonna be somewhat aggressive, like, why are you firing me? I've been doing work. I've been doing your work very good, so on and so forth, and then you're just gonna fire me. And for that one, I would advise to just make it simple, be very calm, and then block, just like what the procedure has been saying. And then advise all of the team to do the same thing, because they might ask why were you fired? What's the reason? And then the VA would reason out, I don't know. He just fired me for some reason. And then they'll start to wonder why you fired them, why you fire him or her or them. Did you post 3 subs chat for him? Yes, sir. Hold on. That one, and then this one, and the last one. Refresh. That's a different link. And lastly, this one. And then sample for the SOC, the procedure Should be this one. Then going back, that's why you need to fire. That's why when you fire them and then you block them, you instantly give access. You instantly give him. Oh, they put this. Hold on. Maybe I didn't give him. Oh, so that's why. Sorry. My bad. The link. The link. Try it again, Sir Jeff. Maybe you can see it. Also the rest. Sorry. And then make sure that you explain to the entire team why you blocked. Why you asked them to block the specific VA, because maybe because they would most likely they will just ask the fired VA directly, and then everyone will start bad mouthing you because you've done or you've made the wrong decision in firing the VA. Finally, disguise the firing with your team. Please explain why. This is the one that I just mentioned earlier. Only if someone else is about to be fired and you would not reassure them, make sure. Make it a point to be open and honest with your team about what happened, and they should be on the same page as you. Try to really motivate them and tell them the possible things to balance things out. You should also bring it up at your next weekly all hands meeting to allow people to ask you questions. Don't pretend that it didn't happen. Address it, answer questions, and be truthful with your team. Because if ever that you'll just have kept constantly avoid the current issue, people will doubt your authority. Sorry if I didn't give access to everyone, even though I gave the link. Does anyone have questions? Questions? Okay, you're doing great. What else? Still early. Yes, sir. I'm gonna celebrate it later in the evening. Thank you, by the way, sir. You can ask questions even if it's not related to the subs that I have mentioned earlier. To use to move a website from the default memory. For that, Sir Patrick, we use WordPress all-in-one, which is the one that's on the SOP for fundamentals of SEO, which is all-in-one WordPress migration, because there's an export and import function on that one. And if ever that how do I put this, the file reached its maximum limit on to upload your website, you need the unlimited plugin for that one. If ever that we have a copy for that one, if you need it. Any other questions? The WordPress all-in-one, sir, it's free, but for the unlimited, it's not free. But if ever, we can just give you a copy for it, so that it will be somewhat free. Yes, sir. Everything, including the plugins, the themes, it's gonna be migrated as well. Close. Yeah. Also later on, I might be talking I might be talking about on how to do GMB post, advanced location pages. It depends. Most likely I'll just ask on the GMB pros on what I can tackle up. For example, if you want GStacks, the SOP for GStacks, the SOP for the cloud stacks, or SOP for writing contents, so that your VAs can also learn how to create contents, or maybe where to if other this that on your task assignment you can use a different method. Mm, the SOP for web build and what should be done first before starting web builds. The step explanation for the SEO SOP that I just gave you earlier. What else? Location pages, how to get them and how to process each one of them to be added on the website. How to improve Google Core Vitals. SEO itself. What else? If anyone wants that one, I'll just message it in the chat on the group on the GMB Pro so that everyone will be notified. And then if ever someone wants to do that one, I'll just talk it on the next class. Because so that if ever you will understand you can show the VAs on how to do each one of them. Any other questions? Pages. Enable places to visit at the bottom. That is a big job. Yes, sir. We actually have a SOP for that one, but I'll just talk about that one later on, maybe on the next class, depending on what type of SOP that everyone wants to talk about on the next meeting. Or maybe I'll just create a poll how to save docs. Which docs, sir? The docs that I just gave. There should be file and then download for that one, sir. Save docs for the SOP. If you're using, if you currently have Gmail, sir, or let me try. I can show how to download one. Hold on. So for instance, it's gonna be, for example, on how to download this SOP. It's gonna be like copy the link and then paste the link. And then file, sorry for the language, it's Tagalog. And then download. And then it depends, but I would advise it's gonna be an Excel sheet. And then it's downloaded, sir. Any other questions? Because if there's none, then I guess we can stop the class for today, and then I'll post. I'll create a poll for the next meeting so that we can talk about on what's needed to be talked on what can be talked about for the next meeting, which is the actual SOPs for the SEO or maybe content or web. I guess this is it. So see you guys next meeting. Thank you, everyone.